go there with your emojis, go there with your comments, and just shake the comment section for Premium Trust Bank today. So back to our engagement session today. It's not just an industry talk that we're having here today, no. So what we're going to do here today is we are unlocking the future, a future where access to finance is not a privilege, but a right. A future where your grandmother in Pansheke in Abeokuta can access microloan without having to look at any four walls of any bank anywhere. It's about cybersecurity being a promise and not an option, and then innovation not being just a technical term, but a means or a tool to redefine lives. So with that being said, I have my great panelists. This is a powerhouse today. I have jam-packed a lot of intelligent minds in this room today, and they are going to be taking us on a journey to redefine banking. And these powerful panelists are not just visionaries. They are not just champions of change. They are different people from diverse backgrounds, but they have a common passion to build safer, smarter, and a very well-inclusive financial ecosystem for everyone in Nigeria. So join me as I introduce to you our panelists today. So I'll be starting on my left with the MD CEO of SANEF. SANEF is Shared Agent Network Expansion Facility. So I have Mrs. Uche Ozoebo, MD CEO, a powerhouse in the Nigerian financial inclusion space. So with over 24 years of experience in financial services, Mrs. Uche is a proven change agent in digital payments, agency banking, and gender advocacy. So I actually had the time to look at some of our work. Mrs. Uche is a very passionate individual for the gender advocacy space. Our work brings innovation, policy, and empowerment, especially for women and underserved communities in Nigeria. She is a certified trainer and passionate advocate. Mrs. Uche has collaborated across several sectors to drive inclusivity through technology, literacy, and financial success. So our guys on the online platform, I'd like you to give her a very wonderful virtual applause just to get her to, listen up. We are so happy to have you here today, Ma. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, and I have, right after Mrs. Uche, I call him Tech Bro. His name is Mr. Adetayo Adejigbe. So he is the lead in our digital banking space. He's the group head of digital banking at Premium Trust Bank, and he is driving change in terms of digital innovation and is redefining how we engage with money these days in Nigeria. So most notably, he has spearheaded the development and launch of the Blaze app, which is a redefining financial lifestyle app that is owned fully by Premium Trust Bank. And we are making groundbreaking financial breakthroughs every day on Blaze. And if I dare say, it has been blazingly brilliant. Tearing blazes, like trailblazers that burning the ground with our blazing strides. So he's a bold thinker, a digital visionary, and someone who knows exactly how to use the pain point of customers to drive innovation. So we are thrilled to have you on this panel as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, so and on the other side here, so there's something I used to say, or most of us when we watch movies, there's always that silent person in the superhero squad that is always there, taking the team, driving the system safe. You say, where are we now? I'm like, it's opened, you can get in. So that, for us at Premium Trust Bank, is Mr. Musiliu Adeosun. So he is our own digital shield. He's the shield behind the digital space. He ensures that he leads our cybersecurity effort with precision, foresight, and a healthy dose of paranoia, because in the world of today, it's exactly what we need to keep our system safe. So from data protection to threat intelligence, Mr. Musiliu is the reason our customers can trust that their information, their details, their money are in safe hands with Premium Trust Bank. So we are lucky to have you here today, Mr. Musiliu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we'll be moving on. Okay, I'm excited to have you too. I'll be moving on now to the next panelist on the call. Our name is Chioma Unwawe. She's a researcher at EFINA. EFINA is Enhancing Financial Innovation and Access. So she's joining us at the front line of financial inclusion today. She has led and implemented Nigeria's flagship Access to Financial Services, which is a critical initiative shaping national policy and driving financial inclusion across the country. So Chioma is also into data. She uses data to make interventions and impact millions of lives. So she has a rich background in international development, public health, youth empowerment, amongst many others. So we are also excited to have you on board. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Busayo.
And you are looking,
just to point out one thing, we've rebranded to Enhancing Financial Inclusion and Advancement.
An advancement.
Yes. So
wow, that is really nice.
That's something to note.
All right, that's good to know. So if I must say, I just have to put it out there that you're looking.
Thank you.
Premium.
We're blazing hot.
Oh, yeah, we're blazing hot. Thank you very much. And lastly, on the panel today, I have Mrs. Amina Iyasele. So Amina Iyasele is at the helm of how our customers feel. She's at the helm of how we connect with our customers. How our customers remain loyal to the brand is on Mrs. Amina Iyasele. So at the level where the leadership is, Amina is the voice for our customers. She makes sure that she's there to be the voice for customer and make a true advocate for human-centered banking. So anytime I see Amina, I see how much of the heart she has put into the work, how much of the heart she has put into our customer strategy. She is laser sharp in her precision to ensuring that we have real-time feedback loops, and she ensures that every touch point in our bank isn't just functional, but memorable. So those are the panelists we have in the house today. And like I said, we are not here alone. We are here with our audiences on the platform. So I would like you to keep giving us the inspiration, putting your comments, your virtual round of applauses all over the comment section, because we're going to come back to you. So that would be where we draw the cap on introducing our panelists today. So we'll just dive right into it. I would be starting with Mrs. Uzo and be asking you some questions, but I would first like to introduce your topic today on this panelist engagement session today. So I would be honored to ask you the question on financial inclusion, bridging the gap for a more inclusive economy. So before we dive into the engagement aspect of things, I would like to hear your thoughts on how we can bridge the gap for a more inclusive economy in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Mr. I'm really excited to be here.
So glad to have you.
Anything to do with inclusion, it's almost like like my day-to-day life experience, okay? Because in today's world, you have what you call the premium, premium trust. But I know that premium trust is also cater for those who are not also premium. We have the underside, we have the excluded, we have even all those people in hinterland that are most times, not that we don't think about them, but we just feel that we're not intentional about their own needs. So that is why that gap is there. That is why you have the financial services gap, because before now, I remember, let me take it back to the days of growing up. Whenever we have to go to the village, I'm from Anambra State, married in the state, and my dad, blessed memory, would always pack all of us, we're going home for Christmas. And daddy will pack all the home money inside his boot and all, because there's nothing like having a bank. Even when we leave the city, once you leave the city, you're not even finding any of those. So they will all depend on those new notes that he's packing. Of course, then he will pack all that to make sure that everybody he comes across, be it the children in the village, they have this money. And you ask yourself, where do they keep this money? By the time they give it to them, even if it's cash. So some of them will travel, leave the village and also come to town. So by the time we get to the village and we need to even buy stuff, we have to travel out again to the nearest city to be able to get money and all. So, but that has evolved over the years. And I remember in 2012 when this issue of financial inclusion started, from the Apex Bank bringing out the policies and all for us to start with mobile, there's mobile banking, and the licenses started issuing. So Nigeria now started investing in that. bringing it down to when 2018, when SANEF was set up and we started running 2019, we also discovered that there were a lot of gaps, financial access point gaps. The brick and mortar and traditional banks will not spend all those millions or thousands of dollars to be building branches, even in places like my village or in one local government. And that is why we said, you know what, we need to also have a lot of financial access points. We need to empower, individuals in certain communities. We need to empower people to be able to have banking license to also, give services to their own community. And that's what gave birth to agent banking. That's where SANEF came in. By the time we're coming in, there were just a little over 50,000 agents. And that's how we started, of course, working with some of these institutions who also have licenses to be able to go around the geopolitical zones, around the state, to acquire agents. And when you say acquiring agents, you already have people in communities who are running one form of business, who have the mom and pop shops, who have, like what you call the stores, the sell provisions and all, to become this agent, to become a bank in their community. And for those communities, they require trust. They need to know you. They don't understand what you're talking about. Why should I give my money to a stranger? But then using the person who is in their community, who is already one of them, giving that person banking license to be able to operate and offer those basic services for them. And that is what gave birth to agent banking. And today we're talking about almost over 2 million agents across the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. That is why someone in the village will be able to send, collect money. They'll be able to do transfers. They will be able to also even open bank accounts so that we can include them. So that is actually the story today. And of course, as we continue, there are also other things we'll talk about, of course, including the issues surrounding that. But I just needed to give this background on how we, how this started and where we are today.
All right. So thank you very much for that insight. So I think what stood out for me was when you said you started with just about 50,000 or 50 agents, and then all of a sudden you're having about 2 million now. So that is actually quite progressive and is impressive, the work that you've been doing for the economy. So I just want to ask you a few questions. So what do you think are the key barriers preventing financial inclusion in Nigeria today, especially in rural and underserved communities?
Okay, so first of all, I'll talk about literacy, knowledge. That is the basic one, because most times we assume that they know. I assume that because that man or that woman or that mama is maybe from one particular day, maybe you're Igbo and you can write Igbo language, or you can read it. So financial literacy, it's one of the problems, because we have to even start by educating them. What are we talking about? Why should I have a bank account? Why should I save money? I'm comfortable putting it under my mat. But we have that literacy has to be there. We have to tell them the reason why you have to have a bank account and transact, that the value of that your money will be put in an account and you still have the value, rather than keeping it under your mat. Another thing is infrastructure. You and I know that today, infrastructure is also one of the big problems that we have. Forget the cities. Even in the cities, we have that. Lack of electricity. Today, we're talking about that. We don't have electricity is still an issue. And when you don't have electricity, how can we also progress? Then we talk about, the roads, the bad roads, because don't forget that we need to get access to those locations. When you don't have that facility, good roads to even take us to those places, we won't be able to, get in. Then lack of access to finance. It's a major another issue that we have, access to finance. When there's no access for even that mama to even have access to credit, microcredit, to even to do business, how can they be included? How can they progress with their business? So just those few are some of the areas that that we also see, and that there also, of course, as we progress, there are also some positive ways that we can address all this as we continue with this conversation.
All right, thank you very much. So I would like to say that when you're talking about financial inclusion, you cannot take away customer experience on how to, transform customer experience in Nigerian banking in terms of personalization, accessibility, and trust in the digital era. So my question would take me to Mrs. Aminat Iyasele. I would like to ask you that, what does a great customer experience in banking look like for the average Nigerian today?
Okay, thank you very much, Bosayo. So I'll paint a very, very short scenario. So imagine me going to work in the morning, and I'm probably stuck in traffic, and I just remembered, oh, I'm here to pay that bill. I mean, I'm frustrated. I'm looking at the time. I'm almost late to work, and I pick up my mobile app. Let's use the Premium Trust app, of course, for example, and I log into the app. I see this intuitive good morning, Aminat. Remember, I was actually frustrated at the start of the transaction, and I'm like, oh, my app recognizes me. Good morning, Aminat. Okay, I click on the transfer button. Immediately it goes. I try to consummate my transaction, and voila, it's completed. The OTP delivers timely, and everything is just seamless, smooth, and very fast. That is what great customer experience is for the average Nigerian. However, it's important that we also note that when there's a bit of service trouble, how do we ensure that we still recreate this great experience? Because we're leveraging on different platforms, we're leveraging on technology, which if I have to use my bank again as an example, we have the solid technology in place. So what we do is to ensure that it's what I'll call, it's an acronym I'll call HAT. I think you mentioned HAT while trying to introduce me, and I was like, Usaya is in spirit, because that's what I actually preach to my team. In the morning when I get to work, I tell them, how is your heart beating today? And they know what I'm trying to communicate. And I'll quickly run through the acronym. HAT means human-centered. Human-centered, are you bringing the human face to your customers today? Yes, we're a digital bank. When it fails, how do we promptly intervene to ensure that the service is still delivered? Empathy. We cannot overemphasize the importance of empathy. Our products and services are curated with empathy in mind. We want to always understand that things might go wrong, but we're there to intervene. And I'd also speak to A, which is HEA, accessibility. How accessible are we as the customer-facing arm of the bank? When you try to call into the contact center, are you able to reach us on the first ring? Yes. That's how we're positioned to ensure that this great customer experience, even if there's a drop-off, we're able to pick up and make it a better one. And I think the fourth is R, which is reliability. How reliable are we when it drops? And I tell you, within the next 24 hours, you get a refund. Am I tracking to be certain that this reversal will occur in 24 hours? Even if it does before the 24 hours is over, am I reaching out to let you know that, oh, Masa, have you been able to get your phone? So these are the sum total of what makes the great experience. And the final one is T, which I term, I'm actually shuttling between transparency and trust, but everything works. I mean, so transparency, when we let our customers know what we're offering, is that what they see? Are we brutally honest? Are we transparent? Because at the end of the day, consistency in trust, in transparency, brings loyalty. That's the truth. And that is something we always try to drive. We're transparent with our customers. We let them understand, oh, when it happens, this is what you should do. And, you know, so at the end of the day, we try to inculcate the acronym HAT in our everyday dealing with our customers, because we know that at the end of the day, the great experience that we are positioned to deliver eventually happens. So that's, for me, is what great customer experience is. Our customers are not, the average customer isn't demanding. He or she just wants a smooth flow of transaction, availability, accessibility, you know, safety, trust, and it's something that we deliver effortlessly here in Premium Trust.
All right, thank you very, very much. So I would still come back to you with some other questions, but while you were talking, I just want to bring back the point you mentioned and make everyone, even the audience and our viewers, to just take note of the acronym, the HERT and HEART, you know, incorporate it into our own back office daily work, because the heart has to be in everything. But we cannot talk about customer experience, financial inclusion, without having to talk about the big guy in the room, the big guy that has to do with technology and disruption. So that would bring me to Mr. Adetayo. So I would like to talk to you about the future of banking, exploring technology and disruption. So we all know that the average banking synonymous is traditional banking. Most banks are still really struggling on how to get out of that traditional space. And Premium Trust, we are setting the pace to let people know that traditional banking is already way behind. So I want to ask that, how is technology currently reshaping the traditional banking experience in Nigeria? And what major shifts should we expect in the next 5 years?
Thank you very much, Sarah. Let me take you through that journey, that digital banking journey. Starting from the 90s, when banks advertise, the advertisement tells you a lot. It tells you a lot. So there was a particular advert that caught my attention, and what it showed was that somebody was carrying a mat into a banking hall and was asking for a tally number. And when he approached the branch manager, he was getting infuriated that, look, I don't have a tally number, what's going on here? And they asked the customer, what do you want, service or a tally number? And the customer said, I want service. And within minutes, he was giving his cash. That was where the revolution started. That would be able to tell us what happened before then. In the 70s, the 80s, what we can deduce from that is that people actually go to banking halls with the impression that they are going to be there for a long time. And it was not about customer service at that point. It was a need for the customer to get his cash and then move out of the banking hall. But everything changed from 1990 to 2000, whereby you had the first ISP in Nigeria, where the internet service provider, and at that point, what people were offering was a totally different thing, which is they invested in technology. They were able to digitize everything that they were doing manually then. And at that point, what you now saw was a digitization process, which was the beginning. When you look at the 70s and 80s, a disruption had occurred, which is people had to move from that no service banking to that point whereby you'll be able to get your cash on time. And that was giving pressure also on those banks. So what you saw again was another form of adoption. ATMs started coming up. Because you have to decongest the banking halls. So people were now using cards to withdraw their cash. But it didn't stop there. If you move to 2000, between 2000 and 2010, there was another form of disruption. What was happening at that point is you now had a revolution, a mobile phone technology revolution, which is that most people now were able to carry mobile phones around, And I remember that before you couldn't easily communicate, but now you could communicate. And it also democratized the internet. You now have people with internet on their phones. So you saw the evolution again at that point with internet banking. People now started using internet banking, people started using phones to communicate. Everything was becoming easier. At that point, customer became king. In the sense that the customer continued to demand for more, which is what? That's value-added service, that valuable service. And what happened at that point in time was you saw another major disruption when moving from 2010 to 2020. Now, you had smarter phones, you had touchpads, you had digital screens, and what happened at that point was you could now get to a marketplace on your phone and then download applications. And what happened then was the customer, again, wanted better convenience, which is, I should be able to carry my bank in my phone. And that was what changed the whole story. Everybody wanted to now bank without even getting to the banking hall. So you had mobile first, digital only banks coming up, the new banks, the fintechs. A lot of revolution at that point was what redefined the way banking was being done. And then in 2020, something happened again. COVID came in. You were now forced not to even see any branch. You have to be at home. You understand? So people were forced to adopt those mobile applications. And then you saw the fintech rise coming. So what has happened is, over time, yes, AI has been in existence, but we had to match up to that technology level for us to be able to do certain things. So what are the next things that you're going to see? We're going to see adoption of AI, even in the part of customer service. Because what I want to, like she said, I want to go beyond good morning at the time. I want my mobile application to resolve all my problems for me without interfacing with anybody or calling anybody. That is the era that we're in now. And if you look at that period, 2010 to 2020, you see platforms emerged. Platforms like Uber, that was a major disruption because our yellow cabs, yellow taxis in Nigeria suddenly vanished.
Yeah.
You had Netflix. All of a sudden, we're no longer borrowing CDs from
Yeah, we are Netflix and CD
vendors.
rentals, yeah.
Yes,
We are,
rentals from video clubs, exactly.
we are
So
now
you saw
Netflix
those,
and chilling.
that also vanished.
Yeah.
The next thing you saw again was the light of the fintechs. You can do your transactions anywhere, anytime, without seeing a bank branch. Those are the new banks. They evolved. And then, at the end of the day, what we're now saying is AI, big data, very important.
Yeah, big data.
Most especially personalization. The customer now wants personalization at its very best. So those are the next things that you start seeing. Machine learning. If you look at loans, like you said, a lot of people, for you to get a loan, imagine from the early 80s down to this time, to get a loan, it would be like a camel going through the eye of a needle. But with machine learning now, we can easily give, immediate responses when it comes to loans. So all these things, as we are seeing them, AI in the next 5 years will continue to reshape things. Machine learning, big data through personalizations, and before you know, you have a totally different disruption coming in. And so we have to stay alert. And that's what we are doing in Premium. We are trying to move ahead of time. That's why you see all those digital products coming out, all those innovative things coming out. We want to be a digital first, and at the same time, a bank that is able to serve its customers. Thank you.
All right, and that is exactly what Premium Trust is doing. We are serving our customers to the fullest. So just to digress a bit, when you were saying you were trying to take us back to the past, our traditional bank, I was thinking you were going to talk about the music, Skybank. I thought we were going to sing. We're all going to sing together, but we did not sing, but that's fine. I was thinking we were going to sing and everybody would share. So I want to come to Chioma. So he has talked a lot about how digital banking technology, is changing the outlook of banking in Nigeria at the moment. So I want to ask that, for you, how can digital banking platforms and mobile technology help bridge the gap for the unbanked and underbanked?
Well, that's a very good question, and I want to look at it in two parts, right? Digital platform helps democratize access, like you said. It means that people can have their banks on their phone. So if anyone has a mobile phone, they'll be able to have access to financial service. But, at EFINA, and when we run the A2F survey, the A2F is the Access to Financial Services in Nigeria survey, we see that, yes, mobile phone penetration is high, but smartphone penetration is really 1/3 of the population. If you leave this building, outside your building, the person is not necessarily using the smartphone. Even those that are using the smartphone, there's also the confidence to use smartphone apps, right? And it's lovely when you share it on customer experience, because that's really what we can work on to ensure that that woman knows that if something fails, that she will get resolved, right? And she doesn't need to call anybody or call her grandfather or whatever, hours on the phone. So that's one thing. So it is a two-pronged approach. Mobile phone penetration is the gateway, is the game changer. As much as we have the USSD channels, we have those one-touch dial-a code, And it was an exciting thing when we have a unified code, right? Especially, I think that's for the NCC, and I hope that's coming into financial service. People just know one code to dial to get your bank statement, to check your balance, all those things. That's a game changer, but that's not the entire picture, because there's still the other people who are also seeing the challenges those that have mobile phone are facing, and they're asking, do I really want to do this? Right? And it's important that we look at it holistically. And I used to tell this to everyone, like, Nigeria is not just Lagos. There's like a wide, and you said underserved market, so you took that out of my mouth. If you look at, for example, when we measure the access to financial service survey, when you say Southwest, we are very included. If you take away Lagos, what happens to Southwest? We need to ask ourselves that question. What's happening in Ondo, Oyo? Those are ready good markets that it's not yet tapped. And I hope Premium Trust has an agenda for some of those areas. If you take away in the Northwest, if you take away Kaduna, what's happening? Right? So those are kind of important conversation. And honestly, I believe mobile phone is the entry point, but let's think about it holistically. Especially a key thing that we're talking about is consumer protection, conflict resolution, because it's the more we build confidence, and Madam Uche took it out of my mouth, when you're building financial ecosystems, there's the key three things for digital infrastructure. You don't build your bank in air. There's the infrastructure you need, which you as a bank, you're not providing for. That's for the government. You can't build roads. There's the identity, which the government is also providing for. And there's the trust, which is this, intangible stuff that you really need to work on. If there's low trust in the system, it will affect you. You are just a bank in the whole entire conversation, right? So as our customer, and it starts with your customers, you can't address someone else's customer. But if your customers know that I have a good experience with this bank, what sells in Nigeria? Word of mouth. It's not necessarily social media marketing. If 100,000 of your customers say this is a good service, this is premium service, they are likely to recommend your service. And what happens? The whole we don't trust formal financial system, they'll say, okay, we trust this person. That means what? More people come in, because the dividends of financial inclusion is benefited when there are more people in. Like, that's why we will keep on talking about on the self-segment. We need to bring in more women. We need to offer people more credit. That's when we all benefit. When more people are in the system, more people are benefiting. It also does what? It reduces the cost of financial service when you have more people in. So when we talk about underserved segment, one thing I want to point out is women, right? We just finished the Women's Month, and during Women's Month, they pay us patronage, Women's Month, but we need to think about it. Lesser women have access, right? We need to think about the North. Those are ready markets. And I tell you, if anybody pioneers in the Northern market, they will get the largest market share. Those are some of the conversations that we need to talk about. And true, for the underserved communities, there are some things that are really beyond, the banking institution, but that's where we need to consolidate, right? So just you cannot go and build the road, but can we consolidate to drive political will to, invest in those infrastructures in those areas? So that's, in summary, mobile phone penetration is the game changer, but we also need to think about those that are using the phone, what's their experience, what's their level of confidence, and how can we improve that, because that will overall help the entire ecosystem.
All right, thank you very much. So your response was quite deep and well thought of. So we would go on a 2-minute break, and by the time we come back, we're going to be discussing how can we safeguard the future of banking through cybersecurity. So we'll be taking a break right now. Thank you very much.